I was making £10,000 a month in profit for the first time, and I didn't even know that I was making any money. Now you might be thinking, how are you making 10 grand a month, but you don't know that you're making money? This is the situation I found myself in. This is actually crazy now. I think back to how I used to be. When I started hustling for myself, I started flipping. My basic business model was flip life, which I would flip one type of product. But then when I was coming up, I was buying and selling everything I could get my hands on. I was doing all the side hustles you can think of. Every time I saw an opportunity to make some money, I would do it. And essentially, what I did was I tried to transform 100% of my time into making money. This sounds cool, but what ends up happening in this situation is you just end up being too busy for anything. So just imagine this. The first time I did my profit and loss account, this was the first ever profit and loss account that I did. Please understand this. When you're young and you're going into business, I probably learned profit and loss account at school, but I never listened. That was my first problem. So then when I finally learned how to do a profit and loss account, this was a couple of years into my business. The first time I did it, I was doing 10 grand a month in profit. How crazy is that, man? Like, I didn't even know I was making all this money. Now, usually, you'd realize and get an inclination that you're making money, but the thing is about me, because I was running a very cash intensive business, and because I came from nothing and had to make it happen from zero, no handouts, I was that resourceful. I had to be so resourceful. Like, I had to make those pennies stretch. I really did. So what I did was I drove my spending all the way down, and then I was trying to drive my earnings all the way up, because there's only two ways that you can generate more money: spend more or earn less. And I tried to do both to the absolute max. That was my way to get some money together and get the ball rolling. So that's what I tried to do. But with that, what you're going to find is all your life will turn to work, which is cool for a couple of years. I recommend anyone, if you watch this channel, you know that I recommend anyone to go through a hustle period. Like, you need to do it, or monk mode, whatever you want to call it. You do need to do that, but not forever. That's not a long-term play. And that's what I tried to do. I just tried to work and work and work and hustle and hustle and hustle. And I was that busy, only concerned about making money, that I didn't even know how much money I was making. Now, the reason why I tell you all this story is because when I did finally sit down and realize how much money I was making, it was a complete shock. It was like, finally, I reached this financial expectation that I set for myself. You know, when you look at a number like that, like making 10 grand a month for yourself for the first time, as a young kid as well, it's crazy. When you've actually started a business from scratch with your own two hands and you've managed to make that amount of money in one short period of time. Please believe, I came up doing gritty hustles. Like, I was collecting scrap metal on the side of the road, selling cigarettes. I was working 24 hours a day. Not 24 hours a day, you understand what I'm saying. I was working around the clock, 7 days a week, no days off. Did all the gritty hustles, all the shit nobody wanted to do, I would do it. And I've been working for years at this point. So even though I've been only a serious entrepreneur for a couple of years at this point, I've been going towards that goal forever. And it was a crazy feeling, but then I hit this wall where it was a realization of my life's fucked. Because let me tell you, when I was making 10 grand a month, what you see usual people will do, they'll go to Dubai, they'll get the LV bag, they'll go buy the new trainers, they'll go on this holiday. Listen, I didn't do none of that. I were wearing Nike sets that I was buying from the outlets, because that's where I was reselling from. And I wouldn't even keep a Nike set that I could make decent money on. So I was wearing these basic clothes. I had my first office, and I would have all my stock in there, and I'd be working out of there, and I'd just be in there all the time. I mean, I don't know what the other people at this office thought when they seen this kid who's just like a chav, who's running in and out and trying to close the door and have no one see him and all this type of thing. This is what everyone used to see me doing. And if you'd have seen me back then, very socially awkward, because I was sat hustling all the time on my own, and you'd have probably thought, what is that kid up to? But little did they know I was making more money than them. I was making more money than the full office building. So I was crushing it at the time, but no one knew. And this were a weird scenario to be in, because what I thought once I hit this number, my life's going to change. And then once I hit the number, I realized my life is the worst it's ever been. Now, the reason why it's the worst it would ever been is because all my focus was on this monetary amount. And this is what I see with a lot of people starting out now. They all just want this money. And look, if you are not making money right now, me telling you 10 grand a month is not good for your life, is not what you want to hear. And I can understand you thinking, why is this guy telling me this? It would sort my life out. And look, I'm not saying it's not a massive amount of money. I'm not saying you can't do a lot of it. What I'm saying is, if you did the same thing as me, where you put all your time and energy to this financial goal and you ignored all your self-development, you ignored all your relationship building, you ignored living life and actually buying stuff that you want and having enjoyment, the problem is you get to the point where, yeah, you're making a lot of money, but I couldn't even say hello, how are you doing to people? I was socially awkward and mentally I was not good. Because all I would do was work 7 days a week all the time. I thought that's what you had to do. Now, there's a problem with that. And that's what I'm going to talk to you about in this video. I'm going to talk about how you can avoid getting into that trap, because the problem with that is I wasn't making 10 grand a month soon after that. Why? Because this idea I'd built up in my head, this whole realization of where this thing that's going to change my life, it's like it smashed to pieces. So I put all this pressure and all this emphasis on this one goal that I was working and sacrificing everything to get to, because I thought that that thing would be changing the game for me. And it didn't. And that's what I see everybody doing now. Everyone's starting out, they want this 10k a month. But if you did the same thing as me, you wouldn't enjoy it when you get there, believe it or not. So what I'm going to share with you in this video is how you can actually strive for success in your business, whatever business model you're doing. And then once you get there, actually enjoy the fruits of your labor instead of doing what I did. So let's get straight into it. And look guys, subscribe to the channel, by the way. I'm dropping heat on a weekly basis right about now. And like this video as well. I'm trying to get this message sent out to a lot of young hustlers who are starting out or building businesses. I'm just trying to share my experience so far. So if you like the sound of that, like the video, because it helps other people see the message. And just a quick disclaimer, like, I'm not making 10 grand a month right now. I'm starting a new business. I've just sold my old one. And the first time I did hit 10 grand a month was when I was 19 years old, doing flips from selling, buying and selling. When I first hit 10k a month, I didn't even know how much money I was making. I did a profit and loss account for the first time, and that's when I realized I was making 10 grand a month. I know that sounds crazy, but I was just that busy doing flips and trying to earn and doing little hustles here and there. I didn't even realize how much money I was making. I had a rough idea what I would do. I'd look at my sales through the day, and I'd look at how much little bit of cash bits I'd done. And I'd had it up in my head, and I knew I was making money. But I never sat down and actually figured out how much money am I making. Never actually tallied up how much I'm spending and how much I'm making. Because I knew I wasn't wasting any money. Like, my lifestyle was very down here. So I was actually making 10 grand a month. And if you'd have seen me when I was making 10 grand a month at 19, I was working in my first office on my own. I was wearing head to toe in Nike clothes because I was selling stuff. That's what I was selling, Nike stuff. I was wearing gym clothing all the time. And I was very like indoors and scurrying about and not, like a security thing, because I had a lot of stock at the time. And if you'd have seen me, you'd have thought this, you wouldn't have thought this kid was making 10 grand a month. Let me tell you, like, this is why you can't judge anyone. You never know what anybody's up to. But I was making a lot, but I'd pull up outside my office and I'd get straight in there, because I didn't want people to see me, because I was so paranoid about all this stock I had in this room. And look, this is the first time I did a P&L, so I might have hit it sooner than that, but that's the first time I realised I actually had it improved. I was making 10 grand a month. But this was a weird feeling for me. This wasn't like a happy feeling. I didn't feel like I was doing well, even though I was making all this money, because I idolised this money. I idolised the number. Now, the reason why I say 10 grand a month is because that is where you can see an amount of money where you're thinking, I'm on the right path, I'm doing something here. That's what it is for everybody. They see 10 grand and they're like, wow, that's a lot of profit in a month, which it is. Like, your life can get very good off that amount of money. But I thought that hitting that number was going to change everything else in my life. I thought I was going to be surrounded by better people. I thought I would just automatically be going to better places. I thought I'd be happier. I thought my character would be better. I thought my character would be stronger. I thought every area of my life I expected to improve once I hit this number amount. So what I was doing was I put everything on pause. Like, I wasn't living life. I wasn't seeing friends. I wasn't going out. I wasn't spending money. I wasn't traveling anywhere. I wasn't talking to new people. I wasn't trying new things. I wasn't focusing on my self-development, because I was just waiting for this number to come in. I was just hustling, waiting for this number to come in. Because I thought once I hit this number, it's all going to change. But then when I hit the number, I realised, like, hold on, my life's shit. I'm not enjoying this whatsoever. And what's the point of me making money like that if I'm working 7 days a week around the clock and I'm not enjoying it? And look, I sacrificed so much. And look, I'm not saying that I don't wish I sacrificed. I'm not saying don't sacrifice. You have to when you're starting out. You have to go through this hustle period. You have to work all the time. But the problem is with me, I never had a plan to stop. And the problem is I sacrificed everything. I sacrificed my youth for it. Like my late teens, I sacrificed for it, which is cool, but I didn't progress. I didn't progress as a person. So I'm making all this money, but I wasn't doing anything. I didn't go nowhere. I didn't think it was my money to spend. And this is where the brain fuck was. So I idolized this amount of money so much. I put all my time, focus, energy, and life towards it, towards achieving it. And then I got it, and then it was like, what? This is completely different to what I thought it'd be. Completely different in every single way. I never had a positive feedback loop because I didn't even pay myself. Like, this was the business's money. I didn't even pay myself. And the problem with that is, when you do a massive amount of work for a certain amount of time, if you never reward yourself with a trip or something physical or an item or whatever, that's not a positive feedback loop. So you're never getting rewarded for the work that you do. Now, the problem with that is your brain's got no motivation to carry on working hard and working focused because you're not getting rewarded for what you're doing anyway. And that's the situation I found myself in. That was the problem. And then what you find is your work ethic, even though you're working all the time, you're not really motivated to do it because your lifestyle's not changing, even though you're making all this money, even though you're doing all this work for a long period of time. And that's the problem I was in. So the day I actually realised how much money I was making, it was a slap in the face. It was a bad time because I had this high expectation and the reality was nothing like it. So that's why when I see everyone hustling and trying to get this a money amount, it's not it. This is not going to transform your life. Yeah, it can do a lot for your life. Okay, yes, it can. But this is not the only thing in your life. I just want to make you understand in this video, the true fulfillment that you feel from your business is going to come when your self-development that you've been maturing and your finances that you've been maturing meet. Because then you have the ability to do what you want to do and you have the character to be how you want to be. And when those two meet, that's where you're going to get the fulfillment. Now, everyone wants to just get the finances, but what they find is the character's down here. So you have to invest in your self-development, invest in relationships, and invest in going forward in what you want to go at. And invest in improving in areas where you want to improve, as well as your finances. Might take a little longer, but when those two meet, you're going to be in a much better spot. So stop idolizing the money. Work to the money and your self-development. And when those meet, you're going to be in a much better position than I was. Subscribe to the channel.